My name is Keith Nitka, and I'm the Battleship Operations Manager. I want to thank you for joining me today on this Whiskey Wednesday virtual adventure. Um, as you can see behind me here, this is not the way the ship was when she was last in service. We are very lucky here on board Battleship Wisconsin. We have what's called the Ship Experience Access Room, or SEAR room, and that's where we are now. So you can see in the TV screens behind me, we have closed-circuit television throughout the ship, and to get from inside Nauticus, the museum, over here into this room, it is all ADA compliant and mobility accessible. So anybody in a wheelchair, motorized, whatever, has trouble walking, needs assistance, can get to this room. Sit down in this chair, or the chair is over here, and look at the different TV screens here, and you see things that are below deck or above the deck here where you would not be able to get to if you had mobility issues. Crew's mess decks, the barber shop, captain's cabin, chapel. Those are all either above us or below us, and you need ladders to get there. But we have this Ship Experience Access Room that allows you to do that. We can click on a room, you can use the joystick, zoom in, swing all the way around, look at the entire space. Hopefully in the next coming months, we're going to have more cameras donated to us. We'll get more spaces involved, hopefully the pilot house, some of the crew berthing, places like that. But that's where I am now, the Ship Experience Access Room. Back in 1991, however, this was the ship's office. It's also sometimes referred to as the captain's or CO's office. And today I have with me Hal Moeller. Hal Moeller at the time is a shipmate of mine, was a YN-1, yeoman first class, and I'm going to let Hal tell you about what he did in the Navy, being a yeoman and working in the ship's office. Hi, Hal.
How you doing, Keith?
Good. Thank you for joining me today on this Whiskey Wednesday virtual adventure.
Absolutely.
So we are, of course, inside the ship's office. This is where you worked, and by request, I got somebody asked to see the captain's office. So I know the captain's office is interchangeable wording-wise with the ship's office. So that's why, of course, we're in here. And I thought, who better than to tell us about the ship's office than YN-1 Moeller? So Hal, if you don't mind, just walk us through a day of being a YN-1 on board Battleship Wisconsin out at sea.
Well, before I get into that, I do want to say a few things. I've watched you on this Wednesday's briefs and all that, and especially now that I'm looking at this. One thing that was so fantastic about this ship, and any ship actually, but really about this ship, was not just the ship. It was the people. That's really what made the ship breathe day in and day out. And I left and did another 30 years in the Navy once I left here. I would not have had such a successful career if it wasn't for the men that worked in this office. Yes, as well as Captain Blesh, Captain Bill, Captain Coleman, Captain Schill, admin officers, John Underwood, Kevin Prendergrass. But the true backbone of any admin office, captain's office, ship's office, XO admin, are the Chief Christensen, Tom Scott, One Officer Tom Scott, Lieutenant JG Jim Ives, and then Driggers, Best, Frost, Chamberlain, Woodland. I can continue, and Washington. How can I forget Washington? His name is Earl. I used to call him George. And he owns a bar up in Chicago. Look him up. He'll buy you a beer. But those men, and I'm sure I'm missing someone, but those men, what I learned from them during my 4 years serving on this ship really helped me throughout my naval career. Because this, whether you call it the ship's office or the captain's office, some people call it the captain's office because we had the ship sec sit here. This used to be an office right here. It used to be Lieutenant J.G. Ives. And right out here, this desk was sitting this way. And Chief Christensen sat here. And when he departed the ship, I moved over here. It was great. I had a porthole. And then, but these men, captain's office, we worked directly for the captain because of the ship sec. Next door was the admin officer who works closely with the XO. And that's why they called that, some people called that exo-admin. But what are we doing here? Nowadays, they say, what is the why? Answer the why. You could, tell your employees the why. We answered the why. We made sure the daily plan of the day got out. The plan of the day, that those days were confidential, secret, because they had ship schedules on there, what the schedule is for the next day and all that. We also ensured all the policies were out, signed, and appropriate and accurate that we got from various departments. They call those instructions and notices. And ask any sailor. I don't care if you're an officer or enlisted. They care about two things. You better not mess with them. That's their liberty and their pay. In here, we took care of all the officers' pay and their promotion paperworks and their fitness reports and their evals for the chiefs. And we did all that in here to get it signed and get it in their permanent record so they can make more money. And that's what we did really in here.
Okay.
I could expand a little bit, but I will tell you, but really, I could elaborate more and more about each one of the men that worked in here. And it was an incredible experience. Did I piss them off sometimes? Hell yeah. Did they piss me off sometimes? Heck yes. Guess I can't say hell, but I will. But anyway, but we got the work done, and it was incredible. I do got to talk one story. We had a basketball team on board.
Yes.
A very successful basketball team on board. And YN2 Dillard, YNSN Dillard, and YN3 Woodland were part of the basketball team. I coached it with one of my closest friends on board the ship, DK1 Moore. We coached the team. And Admiral Bill was, Captain Bill at the time, retired Admiral Bill, was very into basketball. But, so we could not lose. But Woodland, and Dillard and Jackson and the entire basketball team, it was absolutely incredible to watch them play ball. I will admit right now, I did not know very much about basketball. I learned a lot from these folks. And watching Woodland dribble down, stop the top of the three-point line, and just shoot the ball in and went with nothing but net was amazing. In Philadelphia, we played against a semi-pro team, and we beat them. And Christmas Day, 1990, we played in Bahrain against the USS Missouri, and because of those men, we won as well. So yeah, I can go on, but I see you have visitors on here, but it's still not the same. And this office has changed a lot. This desk used to be here. We used to have the office over here. We also had a safe for all the classified material. And we were one of two places that got the first Xerox machine. And right over here, we'll show you around here, as well as dispersing. I think it lasted on board maybe 3 weeks, then it wouldn't work anymore.
The copy machine?
Yeah, copy machine. And in those days, we also had, because we had typewriters and had to print everything out, file everything, and different copies. You had what we called a rainbow file. That's carbon copies, like the yellow went in the seals, weekly read file, green went into the actual file, and so forth. But like the plan of the day, how did we get the daily plan of the day out? We printed it out, and then we sent it down. We had the lithographers down below, LI1 Legess, and then LI1 Miller down there, and they would print out all the instructions, print out all the plan of the days, every single day, as well as everything else. And we had routing boxes back in the corner to get it out to different departments.
Cool. Wow, you covered a lot of stuff. So we're going to take a walk around here in the office. It's a lot bigger than you'd actually think it was. And we're going to take a look at a lot of different things. So the basketball team was the Wisconsin Bucks.
Yep.
And I remember the team doing very, very well during the Christmas tourney over in Bahrain.
That was Rodney Moore and the team.
Yeah.
I lucked out. I think I looked good telling people what to do, but it was strictly them. It resembled the men that worked in this office.
Mm-hmm.
I looked good, but they really did it. And that goes from what Mark Thornton, Chief Christensen, Jim Ives, Kevin Prendergast, John Underwood, what they started and what they, from the beginning. These people were at the beginning all the way to when I walked off of here. It was, a lot of people have really, throughout my career, but the foundation here, it was really, really incredible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of Wisconsin sailors have moved on to do very great things, both in the Navy and in the civilian world, and a lot of them attribute it to, as Hal said, having their start here on board Battleship Wisconsin, because there is a special. It is special to be a battleship sailor, and unless you actually are a battleship sailor, or you happen to live with one, you know one like that, you don't really get that essence of. I know. The ship's bosun, Chief Warrant Officer Marshall, always used to say, our sailors don't say we're off of the USS Wisconsin. They always say we're off the Battleship Wisconsin, because there's that pinnacle, being a battleship sailor. But I digress on that. So
I do want to do one shout out, and I'd be remiss if I didn't. A couple weeks ago, a great former sailor here that was OS2 Sheneman, got picked up for a Seaman to Admiral program, and I believe it was the first Seaman to Admiral program, one of the first selection lists that came out, and got picked up. He retired on this ship as an 06.
Mm-hmm.
And Admiral McLean, Surfland at the time, was his speaker, and called him the legend of Zoa Sheneman at the retirement ceremony. I was unable to make it because what does a 60-year-old man do? I went back to work in the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to brief some 2 or 3 star at the time, so couldn't make it. I thought I could, but I couldn't make it. So I just wanted to give a big shout out to Zoa. Incredible career. Sorry I didn't make a retirement ceremony. So that, in lieu of that, congratulations.
Now, you were part of that program too, or something similar, yes? Because you went from you were in
LDO,
the enlisted ranks. You went LDO, and a different course. Okay.
Yeah, I made it up to 06. My last tour was Chief of Staff of 2nd Fleet.
Yep, Chief of Staff of 2nd Fleet here, folks.
But the only reason why I got that job is because the foundation that was set on this ship. I had 2 tours done before I got here. Nothing matched. I did the Kitty Hawk and recruiting up in Jersey. Nothing matched what I learned, not knowing at the time, from the men on this ship. But we can do it really quick. It's simple. And there's a couple of stories I do want to tell. One thing that always rested me, and Captain Blesh came up with this, and I've used it a couple of times in my career, a face for every place.
Okay.
And every space on this ship, an E5 was in charge of. E5 or below. Remember that?
Yep.
And they put their names on the actual bulkhead. And that was, it's called ownership. They own that space, and it really, really worked. And I've used that when I was in command, and a space for every place. I can't remember the old story, but it'll come to me.
Yeah,
it will come to me. I will have a confession to make if Jerry Blesh is watching. He cut the smoking lamp out on the ship, and every once in a while, when I got too stressed, he tried to catch me. And yes, sir, the porthole was up, and I was smoking here very seldomly. But yes, sir, I was. I don't have to repent my sins anymore. I'm asking for mercy, sir.
So listening to you talk, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Because it kind of interests me. Not knowing anything about basketball, how did you become a coach?
I did know some about basketball.
Okay.
But the Woodland played for the University of Maryland.
Okay.
Dillard, University of Florida State, if I can recall.
Okay.
Their knowledge compared to my knowledge, just watching it and reading, completely different.
I got you.
I know what I'm supposed to do out there. My body just won't do it. Never has.
I got it. So let's take a walk around in here in the office. We'll talk about the different things that you mentioned before.
Well, I'll tell you. Desk was this way.
Okay.
Porthole was open. We didn't have this. This is all new. The ship sex office door was right here.
Mm-hmm.
This was completely down. And Jim Ives, if you're listening, one of the stories is if he got a folder that was wrong, or something was not typo, or something was not formatted correctly, or something was late, he would throw the folder completely out and it'd go flying out here while I was sitting here. It kind of annoyed me. So one day he put something in his outbox and it was perfect. I get it out, I look at it, he initialed it off, didn't make any corrections, so I threw it into him. So I said to him, well, if it's wrong, you throw it at me. If it's good, do I throw it at you? He got mad at me. I don't know why.
I don't know why.
These are small desks, and they're enough you can open it up and you can bring a typewriter out. I'm not going to do it because they're kind of old, and we tried to close this one. The springs are broken. Well, right here, come all the way out. Just bring it up. And they had desks all lined up here. Now, if you ever seen an old safe, this is an old safe, and we used to keep all classified material in here. Classified letters, instructions, and all that stayed in here. But this is old, very old.
That's interesting. Is a safe inside of a safe, because this has a lock on the outside of it as well. So there's really super secret stuff held in there.
That's correct. That's correct. I'm not going to say anything political. Not nowadays.
So there's two of those.
One was for secret, one was for other stuff.
Okay.
Confidential and secret.
Okay.
But remember, back in those days, we didn't have computers. You can't keep something on the H drive. You can't keep something on the S drive.
Right.
You have to always do paper, and God knows you have to maintain a copy for the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this is. A record of everything you do. Nowadays, we have simple computers.
It's all on computer. Yeah. Even navigation. Navigation works the same way. From what I understand, they do very little, if anything, on actual paper. It's all a GPS component in.
Yeah, you need to get retired DKC Rodney Moore up here and talk about the money dispersing down there. We used to bring in, $1 million to $2 million of cash.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't even do that on ships. I've made a cruise on the Dwight D. Eisenhower, George H.W. Bush, and they don't even do that anymore. I went to Afghanistan for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even take money with me. In Afghanistan, on the fob, I have an ATM machine. Think about that. This paperweight has worked about 3 to 4 weeks. We did send some people at school, but the problem is the ballast in here and the way it's built, it was so simplistic at the time, so big.
Mm-hmm.
Bad wave out there, some turn or anything, it goes out. These were all the departmental boxes right here.
Okay.
And that's how we routed it. And every department had a departmental yeoman. They'd come up and pick up their stuff. We used to have a counter right here, a customer service counter that went around like right here. We had a TV right here, and we'd help the customers. Because a lot of people, no one comes up to you and says, hey, YN1 molar, thank you, I got paid. No. An officer will come up and say, what the heck is wrong with my pay?
Yeah.
So, especially OS2 Sheneman got bored one evening when he was standing watch. And the pay message came out. So he decided to retype the officer's pay message on the way and shortchanged a bunch of the officers, including the XO. And then went back down when it's all posted on the Best put that up. That's a great story. He got in a little trouble over there, but he still did find his naval career.
Yeah.
In his naval career. OS2 Sheneman.
Yep.
And then we had a bunch of fouling cabinets. We had a couple more over here, and we fouled them all. But next door in the admin office, we had the admin officers, then Petty Officer Falkenberg was over there, and retired Y1 submariner. I think he lives down south somewhere, and he did the plan of the day every day, typed it up to get it signed. And between the two offices, we worked very closely together. to really make sure all policies are out, all POWs are out, messages are properly formatted. You used to have to, remember the old SEAR messages? You have to type them up, put the thing over, then take it to radio. Then radio would have to retype it, but they still check it and reject it if one character is over here. You got to retype it.
What difference is it?
That's okay. That's why they had bars in radio, so you can get to them.
So you can get to them.
So that's what we did. I believe it might not be as strenuous as working out on the deck plates or all that, but it's just as important.
Oh, yes.
Because and you have to stay on top of it to take care of the sailors, take care with it, regardless if it's enlisted or officer, to make sure they know what's going on, answer the why, and that their pay is good, and of course they can go on liberty on time.
Yeah, there you go. So one of the questions that I have for you is, of course, as far as we go to battle stations, general quarters, I ask this of all the guys. There's really not much in here as far as general quarters to do.
We all had one.
What was your general quarters?
CO's phone talker.
CO's phone talker.
Yes, up on the bridge.
Okay, so you were with the captain on the
I was on the bridge.
telephone.
Yes.
Who were you talking to on the sound powered telephone?
Down to engineering or fire control.
Okay, so you were on different circuits then.
CO would say fire. I say fire. They fire. CO had two hearing protection things on. I had a CO that I need to hear them.
Yep.
It helped me on disability.
Absolutely.
And an excuse at home with the wife. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. It's a hearing loss.
Yep. Absolutely.
So that's where I was. I was doing the brace for shock.
Yes.
I was inside, doors closed, brace for shock.
Inside, we were
in the bridge.
You were on the bridge. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember very well. I was up in the 08 level at my GQ station.
Yep.
Yeah, and we looked at each other like, oh my God.
That's correct.
Well, we said a few things, but it wasn't necessarily that. But yes.
Got me ready for my year in Afghanistan with the Army in Kandahar when they were rocketing us.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Hal. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
And to all the men that worked in here, I just want to say thank you. I served for 41 years and some change, and I would not have been able to serve that long and that successfully if it wasn't for the men that I worked with in this office. They really, really showed me the way. Thanks.
Thank you. So thank you. Thank you very much for joining me today and Hal on this Whiskey Wednesday virtual adventure. I invite you to come down to the ship, see the different spaces. You can walk in here, see the ship experience access room as it is now. Think about what Hal was just talking about and try to imagine what this place looked like over 30 years ago when we were out at sea. Lots of different places on board the ship for you to see, and I invite you to come down and see them all. Thank you very much again, and have a fantastic day.